guys, today we're going to talk about how to teach speak. Speak is a shaped behavior. It's taught like a game to the dog, and it's going to be marked with yes. Very important that you're marking this behavior as it progresses with yes, because that's how you're going to progress the behavior. When you teach speak, you're going to find one location to do it. So if you're in an apartment building and you don't think it's going to be an appropriate thing for the dog to be barking, find a place outside. Otherwise, it's just really important that you find one location to always practice this exercise in, because that's going to become the place where you do this exercise, and that's going to be important to the dog. So find that one spot. You're going to tether the dog. Vegas, I need you, bud. Don't hurry. So you're going to tether the dog to something, and essentially bring him out to the end of the leash. So that he doesn't clothesline himself. And essentially what you're going to do is you're just going to frustrate the crap out of the dog until they vocalize. So some common struggles that you'll see while teaching speak is obedience. So up until this point, you've taught the dog to sit, to down, to blah, 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 blah. What you can see, because the dog doesn't know what you're asking of him, is things that he already knows in order to get the treat. So don't be surprised if you're waving stuff around the dog and he sits down or he lays down, because that's what he's done previously in order to get the treat. So some of the things that I like to use, you can use, if you use a food bowl, more often than not, the dog's probably going to sit and make eye contact because you've been teaching take it. So again, if you use this, be forewarned that the dog could be offering a lot more obedience than disobedience at that point. So you could use a food bowl, you could use a favorite toy, you could use some treats in your hand. If you have other dogs in the home, you can have other dogs play at a distance, frustrate the dog that way. But the key is that whatever the dog is offering you naturally, you're just gonna have to build from there. There's a bunch of different types of personalities. You have high energy dogs that are going to offer you vocalization really quickly, and then you have very analytical, sensitive dogs that are probably going to offer you the obedience. So for those types of dogs, you're going to have to mark whatever frustration you get and then build from there. So that frustration could be, just a wiggle, or an agitation, or pawing at the air, or whining. And then once the whining comes, you could really elevate it. Yes, you're always marking the whining. Eventually she's gonna bark, she or he's gonna bark. So how to do that? Okay, so let me get a toy. Where are all the toys at? All right, I had this over here to start, I swear to God. So say you bring the dog out, all right, and pretty much you're just going to do anything in order to agitate the dog. So, yes, good boy. So he just kind of mouthed at me, all right? You saw that elevation and playfulness. That's what you're looking for. Are you ready? Yes. Pawed at me. Awesome. All right, that's an elevation, all right? You want the excitement level to rise. You want disobedience. You want to mark disobedience for this. Because once the disobedience comes, then you're going to be able to, it's going to amplify enough until he vocalizes, either in a whine or a grunt or whatever, and then after the whine is going to come to speak, okay? So, what'd you want? Yes, good boy, all right. My other dog's getting quite excited right now. I think I'm going to end it. So, you get the idea. That's how you start the beginning stages of speak, okay? Once you have the dog, actually let me backtrack. The purpose of finding one location is once you're practicing regularly, the dog's gonna understand oh, every time I go to this location and I'm tethered up, she allows me to go crazy, right? And the dog is like, oh, this is the spot where I amplify and I get really jazzed up and stuff like that. And then eventually it's gonna be, oh, this is the spot where I'm always barking. This is the spot where I go to bark. And at that point, you're going to name it speak, all right? You don't want to name it speak until the dog is actively, consistently barking for you in that one location. So that's why that one location is really important. So what else? What else can I tell you about speak? I think that's it. This is one of the commands that, every dog is going to be different. Sometimes it can be a lot more difficult to teach a dog to speak, especially if they're really not getting themselves amped up. So this is how we want you to start. There are a couple of other tricks that we have up our sleeve if you're really having difficulty with this, but try it out with a favorite toy, try it out with a food bowl, try it out with different dogs playing in the background if you have that at your fingertips. And if you're really struggling, even starting to get the dog jazzed up in general, reach out to your instructor, reach out to your program trainer, and let them know, because we'll be able to give you some different tips and stuff like that. All right.